Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested. I'm here at the RPF party. That's the Replica Prop Forum's annual gathering of prop makers. And this is Brian Mix here. You bought a collection of props. The thing that I was drawn to immediately is this guy here. It looks like a science fiction computer.
It is a science fiction prop. This is a replica of the computer panel from the Lost in Space, the Jupiter 2. Specifically the right-hand panel. Let me turn it on.
And you turn it on, and there it goes, it lights up. So Lost in Space, you clearly love the film. You have other props here you've made from that franchise. But this also, to me, looks like another computer.
Yes, this made the rounds. It was also the Bat computer.
The actual 1966 Adam West Bat computer.
Adam West Batman. Yeah, if you look carefully whenever they're using the computer banks, these are on the top. The only difference is they cover up the cosmic radiation meter, and they put a little plaque on the top that says Bat computer or Bat analyzer or whatever they needed that week is the sign on the top of it. But this is a Burroughs B205 computer unit. It was a real computer in the 50s. They surplused them, all the prop people bought them, and these things made the rounds through Lost in Space, Batman, Land of the Giants, Time Tunnel. Any 60s show needed a computer, they rented these and they had them.
Because it's so striking.
Yeah,
front.
This display is great.
It's a real computer, but did you have to buy the computer to make it, or did it sell from scratch?
This is all from scratch. It's all from scratch. The case I got on a prop board, and the face and everything else I made myself.
Wow. So walk me through that process of fabricating this. Were there designs that you went off of, or was it all self-reference?
Somebody got a hold of the blueprints from Burroughs in the 50s, the company that made the computers.
Yes.
So we used those because it had all the designs for the sizes of the little plates that go on top and the size of the holes, how the cutouts were beveled, all that stuff is all very well spelled out on the Burroughs data sheet.
Even the bevels?
Even the bevels, right down to the angle of the bevel behind the lights.
Wow. So I see these panels, right? This is it's just a piece of aluminum?
All these markings are the original Burroughs markings for what the computer did in the 50s. They didn't change any of them. All they changed was because they needed a close-up of a cosmic radiation meter in one episode, they put that in there. Everything else is original Burroughs markings.
And so you have panels here, bulbs, and then what about the buttons and the dials?
They are all still commercially available.
Really?
Yeah. Believe it or not, when they make a really good button that's mil-spec, they just keep selling it forever. So yeah, they're all still available. The knobs had to be made, custom made. There's a guy on the group that makes the knobs because you can't get this exact knob anymore. But otherwise, everything else is still available. The original units had neon bulbs, which ran a very high power but weren't very bright. So for the movies and the TV show, they replaced them all with these incandescent bulbs. And they rewired them in the back to light up in these specific patterns. And if you follow me around the back.
Yes, because this is aesthetically functional. And when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, do you have an Arduino back here, some modern day electronics?
No, this was built exactly the same way they built them back in the 60s. The prop makers, now this is no longer Burroughs.
Right.
The prop makers pulled all the lights out, they put in all these sockets and incandescent bulbs that were bright enough to see on film. And then they hooked it up with a motor turning a cam. And the cam opens and closes the switches, and each switch is connected to a whole series of lights. And you can see I wired them in banks by color. There's a white bank, a red bank, a green bank, an orange bank, a blue bank, so I could tell which one was wired up where. And then I added my own set of 4 banks. There's 8 banks of switches running on the cams.
And so that's completely analog.
All analog, all AC.
AC power.
There isn't even any DC in this. It's just 120 volts going in, knocked down to 14 to 16 volts. It runs everything. 120 volt motor, and the lights all run at 14 volts AC. So light bulbs don't care between AC and DC.
Right. I can see the cam here and these indents on these discs.
Right.
That's like the programming of your on-off patterns.
I even bought this cam drive motor. It's called a Kramer switch from the same supply store the people in Lost in Space bought theirs from. Wow. Apex Supply. It's only about a mile from where we're meeting right here at the RPF group.
Now, I gotta imagine the pattern of the lights also mimics the real pattern of the lights from the show.
Right. I spent a lot of time on airplanes. So what I would do is I would freeze frame the show and draw which lights turned on and which lights turned off at particular times to figure out which ones went when, and then figure out the pattern to wire up the switches. So they do blink in the same pattern as the right-hand Lost in Space control panel, because they had 3.
But you have 8 patterns here, but there are many more. So how do you get your dozens of different arrangements?
There are different dwell times for each pattern. So one would come on, another one would come on, and maybe a third one would come on before the first one would turn off, and then the third one would turn off before the second one would turn off. So So you can make all kinds of different patterns based on the dwell times.
They're overlapping.
They are overlapping, yeah.
And so when you're analyzing those screenshots, it's not like I'm going to copy down 80 different pattern arrangements.
No, I would wait for the lights just turned off. And I go, okay, which one's turned off? Those are obviously all wired together.
Yeah.
And I wait for the next set to turn on. Okay, which one's just turned on? Not which ones are all on, but which one's just turned on. That was another pattern.
Crazy amount of pattern recognition.
Once they nailed down all those patterns, then you go through and figure out the order.
Incredible. Wow. Built as they did in the 1960s using a real, inspired the blueprints of a 1950s computer.
Right.
That's a wonderful project. And people can find a build log of this. Are other people making similar computers?
Right. There's a number of people making these. There's a group called Lost in Space Props. It's a Yahoo board, and we share data back and forth about sizes. The blueprints are available online in that group. And some pictures of the original backs of the insides of the original pieces from the prop house that was renting them, so we could figure out how it was wired and how the motors work.
Wow, so if you ever wanted your own Lost in Space computer, or even the bad computer, we'll have links below to the group. Thank you so much, Brian, for bringing it here. It's very nice to meet you.